evening, everyone, and good evening, Avram. Uh-oh, let's see what I have done wrong.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Hello, Avram.
Hey.
It is good to hear you.
It is good to be heard.
It has been a long time for those of you who are joining us tonight. We've been off the air for almost 6 months, save for CES. And, hey, there we are. It is definitely good to be back.
It is good to be back.
All right. Did you see the topics?
Let me see. No, I did not. Well, let's see.
Somebody in the background's not happy.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay.
So there's actually 6 of them, because 3 of them are like a group. We're just talk about the AI assistants.
Okay.
Alexa, Gemini, and Siri. And I apologize to everybody out there. We're probably going to trigger your phone or your speaker.
Oh, because you're going to talk about one of them.
All 3 of them. So, I'm apologizing in advance. It's likely to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Not a lot we can do about it.
Yeah. No, not a lot we can do. So, anyway, listen on headphones.
That is going to be your safest move. All right.
Yeah.
And what would you like to talk about?
I would like to talk about my latest article that I put up on Friday about the issues that Windows 10 EOL is having on computer charities.
Yep. Makes sense.
It's creating for computer charities.
Yep. That'll be I suspected that that's what we were going to talk about when I saw that article go up.
Yep.
So, makes sense. All right.
Yep.
All right. For those of you who are watching live, again, we've been down for 6 months, so I am likely going to screw something up tonight. Because even at CES, I only sat at the board for about 8 minutes in the entire 36 hours that we were on the air. So I haven't sat in this position in a while, so I'm likely to screw something up. I apologize in advance. We will make it work as we go. If you're watching this later, you're not hearing this, so it doesn't matter. All right. All right. I have to remember to hit the record button. There we go. All right. I am ready if you are, Avram.
Yes.
All right, let's do this. This week, Sonos halts streaming box plans, AI search tools face inaccuracies, Niantic sells to Scopely, and Siri, Gemini, and Alexa Plus have upgrades. It's Sunday, March 16th, 2025, and this is episode 672 of F5 Live Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcasts Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're joining us, whether it be on social media, Facebook, X, or Instagram, through our live streaming services, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, LinkedIn, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free episodes of F5 Live and Piltch Point, plus interviews as they're edited, or on our website, f5live.plughitslive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is, we're back Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay as well. You can always go to PLUGHITZlive.com, and there you'll see all /subscribe. And there you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, The Piltch Point with Avram Piltch, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, which is currently showing CES content, and a whole lot more. And of course, you'll find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. All right. It has been a very long time. We have not done a show in almost 6 months. And there's some reason for that. If you watched any of our CES content, you'll know that we talked about it a lot, that we were affected by the hurricanes last year here in the Tampa Bay area. My parents' house got trashed. They haven't even been able to move back in. We had water here in the studio. We had water all over this building. Lines down. It has been a crazy 6 months around here. And then, to add to it, we had CES in the middle of it. So, and we had a death in our group. It's been a wild couple of months around here. So we've been trying to kind of rebuild and put stuff back together. Some of the stuff you see right now is the stuff that you're used to. Some of it is different because you may not be able to see the boards on the bottom down here that got water damaged, or Avram, the old wall to my left, the bottom of it got water damaged.
No.
The one that we used to use for the background of the show years ago, it got water damaged. So it's okay. We're back. Everybody's safe. Everybody's good. We're back. And it's good to be back, Avram. How have you been?
Yeah, it's been kind of depressing time. I'm so excited to be back with you. I really missed our show.
Mm-hmm.
So
me too.
Busy time, but I really missed our show, so I was so excited we're coming back. There's a lot to talk about.
Indeed.
So I can't wait to get started.
So I have a topic. You are aware of this because I think I sent you pictures. Not one of our topics, just want to talk about it. Several years ago, maybe 2.5. It was while we were still doing GNC Week in Review, so probably at least 2.5. There was a story on that show about a product called Telly. When they were offering a free television, but it had a little bar across the bottom that had advertising and widgets and all kinds of stuff on it. And if you were watching the GNC Week in Review episode, I signed up for one during the show. And then we talked about it, and you and I talked about maybe the different things that you could do with that bottom screen and all kinds of interesting conversations. Well, I had completely forgotten about the company entirely, let alone the product, but amidst the chaos of the last 6 months, it showed up. I was shocked. Didn't think that the company... I think you and I predicted that the company would never actually come to fruition. The product would never actually launch. And apparently we were totally wrong. There is one sitting in my living room right now. The software is buggy. Bad buggy. But the picture quality is incredible. The speaker on it's incredible. And believe it or not, Avram, that silly little bar across the bottom actually keeps me from futzing with my phone while I'm watching TV, because I got widgets down there that have things like, um, you're not one of the choices, but some of your sister sites are. I've got a little news feed that comes up down there, and you can choose what publications you want to see. It's really pretty cool. Um, so I'm not futzing with my phone during TV shows so much because I can glance down, see something from Wired or Tech Radar or something like that, and without ever losing focus. It's actually kind of cool.
Neat.
Um,
Neat.
obviously, I'm obviously I'm going to be putting together a product review on this thing. We did not do an unboxing because legitimately the box wouldn't fit in the studio, and it took two of us to even slide it across the floor uh, in the kitchen at home. So that wasn't going to happen. But I am working on a product review on it. But I'll tell you now, it's pretty impressive. It's not bad. 4K TV, the sound bar on it is great. It sounds good. I've got a surround sound system, so the sound bar is not quite as important to me, but cool product. And in that same vein, all kinds of interesting new products over here uh, for unboxing and reviews, including from one of our friends from Exa. Their parent company sent us back from CES with, I think, all of their new products over here. So definitely looking forward to that. So there's a lot going on. The CES content is almost done. The CES Prime content is almost done. The follow-ups are coming. Later this month, in like a week, we've got another event, the Synapse Summit. We're back, and we're doing a live broadcast from there again for the first time in a couple of years. So all that content will be coming after that. Lots going on. Definitely head over to plughitslive.com/subscribe and hit subscribe on the PLUGHITZ Live Presents, because lots of content over there, and then you'll see all the shows. Definitely check that out. But we have got a lot to talk about, Avram. So let's get down to it. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, tablet, Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. Remember, current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So, in the time that we've been off, AI has not slowed down. In fact, it has sped up, and it's starting to show up in more and more aspects of our life. If you've watched the show for probably any period of time over the last couple of years, you know that Avram and I have some skepticism over large parts of AI, particularly because of the way it is oftentimes trained, things like that. We'll also talk a little later in the show about the data and the results that come back from it. But for right now, one of the places where AI, and in particular generative AI, is going to start showing up in your life is in your assistants. Depending on what platform or platforms you use, you might have access to one of several. You might have an Echo Show and have the Blue Lady. You might have an Apple product and have the round one. Or you might have a Google device and have their assistant on your phone, tablet, smart speaker, thermostat. These things are kind of all around. There were others in the past. But those have kind of settled in as the big three. And in the time that we have been off air, all three of them have announced large upgrades coming. The first being with our Blue Lady friend from Amazon. We're going to try not to say their names unless we screw up, so as to try to avoid triggering your speakers, your phones, your thermostats, things like that. Madam A, as as I like to say, or my brother says, the Blue Lady, um, she's getting a big plus upgrade coming soon here in the next couple of weeks. Powered instead of by the old style standard AI, a new generative AI backend. This has come to us care of Panos, who left Microsoft and joined Amazon about a year and a half ago to head up their devices and services division. We talked about that on the show. This new version of the system is supposed to add all kinds of new, like, more personalized capabilities. It's supposed to be able to answer questions more directly. You're unlikely to hear, uh, thanks to a answers contributor, you're unlikely to hear so much of that anymore. Um, you're also going to have agents built into it. So we talked a while back that they had discontinued the some of the developer programs. It looks like they were winding those down in preparation for the switch from the standard apps maybe over to the agent API models. Um, I think they're calling those experts. Um, you've also got local recommendations, which she wasn't great at before. But then also things like not just showing a recipe, but being able to help you adjust a recipe kind of on the fly. Oh, I don't have canola oil. What can I use? Oh, you can use butter. You can use olive oil or whatever. Um, those kinds of things are kind of cool. Like I said, we're expecting to see that roll out to some people starting this month, particularly if you have an Echo Show, and I believe any of them. The 8, the 10, the 15, and I think even the new 21s are going to get it first, and then it'll start rolling out, and there'll be a Blue Lady Plus dedicated app that will come out. If you have Amazon Prime, it's going to be included. If you don't have Prime, there's going to be, and hear me out on this. If you don't have Prime, there's going to be a standalone subscription just for the Plus service on your assistant that doesn't make any sense. They're saying it's going to be $19.99 a month, which comes out to $240 a year, but Prime is $140 a year. So my recommendation would be f5live.tv/prime. Uh, go go there and sign up for Prime instead of paying more for less. Which I don't know. Does that math work for you, Avram?
No, it doesn't. It
Yeah,
seems kind of punitive. Like you'd have to be like, well, why would you want this if you don't like Prime? You hate Prime so much that you're willing to pay more not to have it.
yeah,
It it doesn't make sense.
it doesn't.
I think, is it possible that at some point
Th-
either they're
There'll be
going
tiers.
to, yeah. I
It's
mean, it
possible.
seems like, I mean, everything that we hear about this AI stuff is that it uses a lot of processing power, it uses a lot of electricity,
Yeah,
it costs more money to run than regular compute. So, you know, what companies like OpenAI have done is try to pass is they've had a free tier, but they're really trying to get to pass some of these costs along to the user by having pro tiers.
right.
And almost every service does this, right? Like Google has a pro tier for its AI.
Hmm.
Uh, Bing has one for like for
Copilot.
Copilot, right? Um, so it would be surprising to me if it's just another add-on to Prime for long,
Hmm.
uh,
Or
and that they
or maybe there'll
would want
be
to charge you.
tiers. Maybe there'll be tiers to what's available. If you're a Prime subscriber, you get 50%, and if you're a Prime Plus subscriber or whatever, you'll get. Or maybe it's like Prime Video channels, right? You can add on Max and you can
Right?
add on whatever to your Amazon account, and so with that, you know, maybe that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, Amazon could afford to just eat the money, but um, they're probably trying to make it profitable.
Yeah. So the thing with Madam A is that she has been unprofitable because they thought that the service was going to be used differently than people ended up using it. Um, they thought people were going to be, more casually buying stuff on the fly and just shouting at their speaker to buy pencils or whatever stupid thing they had in their head. Um, which clearly, when you're talking about a dot, was never going to happen. That was a stupid idea. Um, with the shows, maybe, but I don't know about you, but I don't want to just shout into a speaker and hope the right thing shows up. I want to be able to see it, confirm that it's the right thing before anything happens.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. So I don't feel comfortable spending money that way.
Yeah,
Uh, I think, and I think a lot of people probably don't feel comfortable spending money that way. It's one thing to do stuff that's free and to ask a question, get an answer, or have it
right,
turn on this a song for you. But how many times do you ask it and you get the wrong song, right?
right.
Oh, well, you just ask it again. But like uh, after a while, but you're not going to want to do that when your money is involved. So,
Right. And
so
if you go and do a search on one of the shows, right? It's got a screen, you can ask it, or you're using the mobile app and you can ask it, and it shows you the thing and you say yes. Okay, that's a different workflow than just shouting at a little glowing orb and hoping.
right,
Because
yep,
if I then have to go to the Amazon app and verify that the thing it just placed an order for is the thing that I wanted, then why didn't I just do it in the app in the first place?
yep,
So,
yep,
um, I am hoping that song stuff is going to get better with this. The example I used in the article is one of my favorites. I can never remember. I love the song that played. I think originally, I don't think it's this anymore in streaming, but the original song from the first episode of Heroes, I can never remember what it's called. I know now, right this second, that it's called Eyes, because I looked it up. Uh, but it would be great if I can just shout that at the speaker, and it's able to know what it is I'm talking about, and then go play the song based on just the information that's in my head. Stuff like that might make it a more enjoyable and certainly more streamlined uh, experience. But I can't imagine what is going to be in this that could possibly justify $20 a month. Because I can't imagine it's gonna fix my car or anything. Like I I can't imagine what $20 a month would look like on this, but obviously we'll be trying it out when it comes out. We're supposed to be on the early launch. We'll see what happens. We have an Echo Show 15 uh, here in the building, so we'll certainly see. But Madam A is not the only one. Google has announced that Assistant is dead and will be usurped by Gemini. It has already begun that process. Newer phones that have come out almost exclusively with Gemini and almost no access to Assistant at all. Over the next couple of months, we will see it show up on phones, smart speakers, and smart screens. Basically, the entire Nest lineup, and even Google and Android TVs. We'll see the Google Assistant retired and replaced with Gemini. One of the things that's going to come with is Gemini will now have access to your search history to be able to improve personalization of results. I'm almost never a fan of any AI model having access to my anything. So I had a visceral reaction to that revelation. I know not everybody will, but there's certainly been a lot of chatter online this week about that. But I also don't use a whole lot of Google products, so, you know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't like it having access to my search history. Not at all.
I figured.
Not at all. I mean, I, I just like I don't know what it is that you're like hoping to get out of it having access to your search history. Is it like, oh, you asked about this before, so I know what you saw before when on Google. Mm,
Yeah. I know yesterday you were searching for whatever and you clicked on a link on Tom's Hardware. Uh, no.
But why am I asking if I already found the answer, right? Or are they
Correct.
just assuming that I'm trying to get my answer again, right?
Yeah.
That's not. I don't know. I don't like it. Don't like it
Yeah.
at all.
I don't like you said, I don't just like the $20 a month, I don't know what would be provided as the benefit of it. I can't wrap my head
Oh,
around where the benefit comes from.
and here's another thing to consider. Think about this. For most people, if you have, a speaker in your house, that is being accessed by all the members of the family.
Mm-hmm. True.
So now everybody is getting in on your search history
True.
or
True.
getting the benefit or whatever non-benefit of your search history,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because there's
Interesting.
children in the house, there's whatever. So um, yeah, I don't like it. I mean, I like to hear some examples of how they think this is going to help you, but um, what are they going to say? Like, you asked that hero's question already yesterday. Don't you know the answer already? Why do you keep asking me?
Learn something, dummy. Retain
Yeah.
information. I do.
One
Oh.
one of the good one of the good things about computers is that they should act with infinite patience. Um, so uh,
Unlike the thing this week, the programming AI that told the developer that it wasn't going to help and he should learn how to do it himself.
that's good.
One of
I
my
like
favorite
that.
stories this week, and that's one of the little stories that came across on the bottom bar of the TV. Uh, but yeah, I I just can't wrap my head around where search history is going to be a benefit, but I can wrap my head around where it having access to search history is going to be a problem. I smell Google Wave issues all over again with joint data access and stuff like that. Mm, mm-mm. definitely, definitely poses a problem. Um, we don't have an exact timeline on this. We do know that they're hoping before the end of the year to have all compatible devices um, phased out. Um, Devices that are not compatible with the upgrade will not receive it and will continue to be able to access Assistant um, currently indefinitely, but we know how the Google Graveyard works. That could be Thursday. So for right now, we don't know if you're on an older device that won't be getting the upgrade. We don't know how long Assistant will last, but do assume that at some point it will phase out. And our last assistant getting an upgrade is from Apple, the the Circle lady. Siri is supposed to have already received an AI, generative AI powered upgrade. It's supposed to um, improve personalized responses and become more conversational. It's going to be session based instead of as soon as you ask a question, she immediately forgets what you were talking about. You'll be able to accomplish tasks across apps. And though without all of the negative backlash that Recall received, it's supposed to have on-screen awareness, which I don't know why people aren't worried about that on Apple devices, but were on Microsoft devices. But either way, I'm not a fan of that feature. But the upgrade's been delayed. It was supposed to have already released. Theoretically, it was supposed to come with Apple Intelligence, which itself was delayed in launch. It did not launch on the new devices the day it came out like it was supposed to. We have seen the Apple Intelligence software launch to iPhones and MacBooks in at least a two-phase rollout so far, because I've seen it show up on devices in two different phases. But this isn't out yet. It's supposed to have been out like now, and it has been delayed until at least May. I think Apple misjudged the complexity of rewriting the entire back end of Siri, which was something they'd bought. That's my
Yep.
thoughts. Because they didn't build
Yep.
Siri, they bought Siri. They put a new voice model on top of it, but they didn't build that. They bought it. And I think they misjudged what it was going to take to rewrite the back end.
So here's my question about the on-screen.
Mm-hmm.
Is it does it keep a record or does it only work with things that are on the screen at the moment?
It's a fair question. It's supposed to be able to do things like recognize dates, phone numbers, things like that, take actions based on the details. But it's definitely supposed to be able to scan and process the text of, say, emails and other possibly personal things on the screen. It's almost certainly not doing that on the device. Absolutely not if it's one of the older devices. If you're talking an iPhone 13, uh, that didn't. I don't think that had a neural processing unit on it at all. So that's being offloaded somewhere. So if that upgrade's coming to the 13, that data is going to be
Well, I
offloaded.
mean, I don't even know if this counts as AI, but like if I saw a phone number on my screen
Mm-hmm.
and I gave it a voice command to call that number or whatever, like call the
Mm-hmm.
number that's on my screen, I don't think that would be a horrible
No,
violation of my privacy.
no,
And it's not what recall is doing
yeah,
is keeping a screenshot of every and very clumsily so too, because it you can ask it some basic questions, but it's not really very
yeah.
advanced, right? but it keeps a timeline of everything that you have done.
Yeah.
So if someone gets access to your computer, they can go and look at they
Time
can just
travel.
scroll the whole timeline, right?
Yeah.
They don't even need to know what question to ask. They don't
Yeah.
even need to be like, oh, has what's my bank account number,
Yeah.
right?
True
It
enough.
You just keep scrolling until you see the bank account, which, by the way, they're supposed to hide things like bank account numbers, but I did a test a few months ago where it turned out this only happens some of the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like
so
it's like Google Maps blurring people's faces, but sometimes they'll
right,
leave the person's face and blur the dog's tail or something. Like,
right. Well, they don't know. It's hard to tell, particularly if if you're not on like a traditional, bank site or whatever. Like, what if you were writing an email and you're like, hey, my credit card number is this. It
which, by the
doesn't
way,
look at it and be
you should
like,
you shouldn't
you
do that,
shouldn't
guys.
do. Right, right. Right. So I mean, like, in theory, you shouldn't do it anyway. But uh,
But we
I
know
don't
people
know.
do it.
Or if you were like writing it down in a doc,
Right.
right, in a document on writing down a credit card number in a document or a
Or
spreadsheet or
filling out a tax document that has your social.
yes, right, right, exactly, right. It doesn't. I tried a bunch of these things, and so yes, if you uh, you know try to log into like a well-known bank website, I think it might be wise to that,
Right.
but other
A
stuff
credit
not.
union, maybe not.
So so anyway,
It'll
to
be
make a
interesting
long
to see.
story short,
So I guess the active
yeah,
question is: will you be able to ask Siri for phone numbers or dates that it has seen before, or is it a just in time kind of a scanning now, and as soon as you close it, it's forgotten?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's really the question, right?
Yeah.
Are where's the data being stored? Who's doing it? Who has access to it? Is it
Right.
easy to get it? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's certainly been a lot of chatter online about this one this week as well. Users are getting understandably frustrated. People who were looking forward to this. Some people bought the new iPhones for the upgraded intelligence features, and it's rolled out in two phases so far, and the Apple Intelligence based Siri has still not rolled out. So there are certainly people who are frustrated and waiting. There are some people who aren't particularly interested in adding it to their device in the first place. Uh, so the delays for me are fine. Um, but it's definitely, it's the first time in a while that we've seen this level of scramble. I think the idea that the scramble is so big that Apple kind of violated one of their standard behaviors, which is to not show something. Save for the original iPhone, which that presentation was an incredible series of smoke and mirrors. Apple tends to wait until things are done to show them off, or not show them off at all, um, because they want until it's like in internal testing before they talk about it, because they don't want this situation to happen. They don't want to announce it and then not be able to launch it when they're supposed to. Um, so there's this big scramble in the industry around AI. I think it is leaps and bounds above what the bizarre scramble around blockchain was. Um, we've got to get it. We've got to have AI in the thing. Why? Don't worry about that. there was certainly a lot of that with blockchain, but I think this is orders of magnitude bigger than that scramble, that it's even tripped up Apple at this point.
Yep.
We will be keeping an eye on all of this. As soon as Apple is the new Apple Intelligence-based Siri is out, we'll have access to that. We'll do the same thing with Madam A, and we've seen Gemini in action. There's not a whole lot that we can new that we can talk about there, other than as it rolls out and replaces Assistant. But yeah, AI is coming for you. Doesn't matter where you are. Microsoft announced an Xbox branded version of Copilot to be your gaming sidekick or some such nonsense. So far, it's been totally panned. It seems like everybody agrees it's worthless. But anyway, doesn't matter who you are, where you are, it is absolutely coming for you. So keep your eyes out, and so will we. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. Well, Avram, I know one of the things that has kind of captured your heart over the last couple of years has been the ability to recycle and repurpose electronics, and Microsoft has made that a little harder, or is about to.
Yeah. So interesting little story. My son and I recently joined a local charity around here that does laptop refurbishing. I actually have a laptop right here that I'm refurbishing right now. This looks like something I would own, but it's actually not. This was
It absolutely
donated
does.
from a business. This is very conveniently. I actually owned one very similar to this, but this is an X1 Carbon that a business donated to this charity that I recently joined. And what the rules of the charity are for refurbishing, these are the rules that they came up with before I joined. So uh, maybe they'll change, but um, is that anything that is that we install a fresh copy of Windows on everything, and most of the refurbishing, by the way, is um, of laptops because people want laptops, right? More than they want desktops. So a lot
Fair
of
enough.
the people who ask for stuff from the charity say, "I want a laptop," and they don't want to go to them and say like, "No, we're giving you a desktop." Um, so anyway, although whether it was a laptop or not is kind of irrelevant to this conversation. The the issue is that so anything that can get Windows 11 that is eligible for Windows 11, we will install Windows 11. However, a lot of the laptops they receive are a little too old to meet Windows 11's requirements. As we know, Windows 11 basically you need at least an eighth gen CPU, eighth gen Intel CPU. So, if you look at the CPU and it's Core i7 dash something, it should start with an 8. So like 80 Core i7 8650, right? If it's a 7 or a 6 or a 5, then it probably is not on the compatibility list. Even if it meets the other system requirements, like having at least 4 gigs of RAM and having at least 64 gig SSD, and having, uh, I mean, most of the time those older things don't have TPM, which is a security system that Windows 11 requires. So Windows 11 has higher requirements than Windows 10. So what do you do if you have a donated laptop or desktop and it just falls short of the Windows 11 requirements? You have a choice. Well, there's three things you could do if you are a charity like ours and you want to give these computers to people who need them. One, you could say, I'm not going to deal with this computer at all. I'm going to send it to e-waste recycling, or throw it away. Um, but e-waste recycle, obviously nobody gets that computer then. E-waste recycling means that somebody is going to try and like mine the metals out of it and whatever. But um, you know, even then, there's a lot of energy and electricity and effort and shipping and stuff involved. That's not great for the environment in recycling, in attempting to do recycling. The best recycling is reusing. So, so anyway, you could recycle it. You could install Linux on it, a flavor of Linux that will, or you can install Windows 10. But Windows 10 is coming to its end of life, EOL, in October. That means Windows 10 will no longer receive security updates unless you pay for extended security updates to the tune of, what is it going to be, $61 a year, I think, for the first year,
Yeah, something like that.
right? Which is not something that a computer charity is going to do. They're not going to buy a $61 security package for somebody, and that still only gets them through the first year. So, um, so right now, the charity that I work for has made the decision that they're going to continue to install Windows 10 at least up until the deadline, at least up until October. Um, don't know about after that, but nevertheless, October is only 7 months away. Um, and so if you give somebody a Windows 10 laptop today, you're giving them something that is going to lose updates in just 7 months. And the question that's obvious is, does it matter? Like Windows 10, like the system won't stop running. There will inevitably be millions of people who continue to run Windows 10 after October. In fact, today, just 7 months before the end of life, uh, Windows 10 computers still outnumber Windows 11. I believe the last I saw from Statista was something like 56% of Windows computers run Windows 10, and only 30 something percent run Windows 11. And then if you're doing math, you realize there's still something like 10 or 20% left. Uh, that is even older versions of Windows that people are still running, right? Like Windows 7 and Windows XP still being run by somebody. So, how bad is it to just run Windows 10? Well, there are going to continue to be security holes that are going to continue to be discovered, and there's going to continue to be, and it's going to continue to be an exploit that, particularly that hackers are going to look for. Even though Windows 10 has been on the market now 10 years, and you might think that they would have caught all the security holes, that is not the case. There are always new security holes coming and being patched. There were new security holes patched as recently as, I think, February. So, um, you know,
Uh, if I'm
there's
not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, PlayStation 3 just put out a patch uh, for the OS for PS3, like last week.
So it never ends, right? It never ends. So this is a dilemma for charities. The charity that I signed up for around here has made the decision to go with Windows 10, but that's not a decision that everybody makes. So I spoke to the CEO of one of the largest refurbishers in America, PCs for People. Uh, PCs for People operates in 11. I mean, they sell stuff online, but they also have brick and mortars. They made, they refurbished 140,000 computers last year, um, and they do, they either sell computers for very cheap, or they, if you're below a certain income threshold, they'll give you one. And PCs for People told me that they decided like last year, no more Windows 10. If a computer can run Windows 10 only, they will install Linux Mint on it. That is their solution. They will go with Linux Mint. They think that is that's the way to handle it. Now, even they have their limits. They said they will do this on sixth and seventh gen computers. They will do Linux Mint, but if it's older than sixth gen, that's going to recycling. If it's eighth gen or above, then it gets Windows 11. So that's their solution to the problem, is to install Linux Mint. Linux Mint will continue to be getting the LTS, long-term service version will, at this point, is scheduled to get updates through 2029, and even then there may be a new version that still runs on that hardware. Um, so those are the choices, but it's kind of you know you kind of tend to think Microsoft's really either deliberately or out of omission not really taking into account secondhand computers, right?
Yeah.
Uh, they really want you to buy a new computer, um, and if you can afford a new computer, that's all lovely. But there's a lot of people who are on the wrong side of the digital divide, and there are charities out there trying to help them, which I think is important because everyone should have a computer. Every Like, don't just have a phone, don't just have a tablet. Everyone should have a computer. Everyone should have a computer they could use to go on, not just to go online, but to install local software, to program if they need to do tasks that work better on the computer than they do on your phone, like banking and tax returns and stuff like that. Everybody should have a computer. So, and in the home, maybe multiple people need to have their own computers. So, um, that's why I joined this charity, and why my son is doing it with me. Um, but we're I don't know. I don't know if going with Windows 10 at this point was the right choice, but it's a challenge, right? Because you want something that people are familiar with, especially you're giving it to people who are not very tech savvy. And I recently installed Linux Mint in a virtual machine to see just how familiar it feels. And like the basic UI, it has like a start menu, is fine, except you start digging into what software there is, and wait a second, it doesn't come with Chrome. You can get Chrome, but it's not in the App Store. There's Chromium. Uh, you know, no no Microsoft Office. You got to have LibreOffice. You know, uh, my favorite programming Notepad plus plus, Windows only, no Photoshop. There's a lot of things that you still need to learn. And look, if you're a Linux person, you're going to say, but there's other apps that do the same thing. And you're right. But you want something that people are familiar with, especially giving it to people who aren't very tech savvy. So, I think that's the challenge and the dilemma
Hmm.
for refurbishers is, do you give people a soon to be expired operating system in Windows 10? And the dilemma will even grow when you get to October, because who knows, you may not even be able to get product keys anymore for Windows 10 at that point.
True.
Probably not,
Probably not. Yeah, I would imagine that probably comes to
right?
an end. Um, you know the other interesting option that's kind of a middle ground is Chrome OS, right?
Um, Why is that? I mean, because it's still an unfamiliar OS. It's just that you're getting an OS that is kind of more idiot proof because it's
But if
only the browser,
it but
mainly the browser.
if you're an Android user, um, there's a lot of the App Store available. It it gives you the Android gives you access to the Android version of the Office suite, things like that, without uh,
Yeah,
without having to go
yeah,
with Libra. So there is a bit of a middle ground. It doesn't have any of the more direct Linuxy things that some people find annoying because the interface over top of it is more direct, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think like in Mint, the Cinnamon interface, is what they call Cinnamon,
Mm-hmm.
is uh, is decent.
Yeah.
Although I might have gone with Ubuntu over Mint. Um, Mint is based on Ubuntu, so I get that. But a lot of times, if you're looking around for support online, it'll
Yeah.
say, like, here's how to do this in Ubuntu, and it won't say how to do it in Mint. And generally, if you're smart, you'd be like, oh, if Mint is based on Ubuntu, then this Ubuntu instructions should work for Mint. But again, trying to help people who are not necessarily tech savvy. So, want to make it easy for them. Uh, I would, if it were me, I think I would go with Ubuntu over Mint because um, all the instructions online say do this in Ubuntu. Uh, for example, if you want to install Chrome browser, um, which does not come with Mint, um, it is not in the App Store. There's Chromium, but that doesn't sync with your Google account. I don't think that can sync with your Google account. So, um, but you can go to the Chrome website and you can install and download the deb file and install that, and that will get you Chrome in Mint. But the instructions say download. You have to choose. Do you download this for Ubuntu or download this for, I think, like FreeBSD or something? It doesn't say Mint anywhere. So like, you know, you got to know what you're doing. Um, I think one thing that I'm learning through this experience is there's a lot of choices that you have to make when you're when you're setting up a computer for someone, right? And you're trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator. For example, there's like a 12-page um, document I have to look through for every computer that I fix, and not only do I have to install Windows 10 or 11 on them, but there's a bunch of apps that they want to install, and it's an interesting set of choices that you could agree or disagree with, right? Like they want me to install Adobe Reader on everybody's computer, but you know that Edge, which comes standard, can read PDFs.
I was
So
gonna
do you
say,
need Adobe Reader?
in 2025, not in 2012.
So, right. They want me to install Adobe Reader. They also want me to install both Firefox and Chrome on the computers, which I don't know why you would do that. It already has Edge. If you feel like some people need Chrome because they're used to that ecosystem, I guess you would put Chrome, but I don't think there's a whole bunch of Firefox fans who are going to be sad, um, you know. And then because they want folks to have an office software, we have to install LibreOffice, is what they've chosen, which, you could make the argument that people should just use uh, an online service like Google Drive, which is free,
or Microsoft
right?
just or Microsoft just released a free version of Microsoft 365. I think this week.
Right. I mean, so there's a lot of decisions that people make when refurbishing a system, and then there's certain settings that they want us to change, like what the like they well another thing, for example, that they want us to do is to install VLC on everybody's computer. Um, I mean, VLC is better than Windows Media Player, but do you really need it? I don't know, right? Install
Yeah.
VLC and then go into the file associations and associate it with everything that it can play. Um, so it's these are interesting choices uh, that refurbishers make. Like, how much are we going to like? What software we're going to put on there for people? What do they really need? What's too much? What's enough? One thing that is really important, uh, and again, we're talking about Microsoft making a decision that's very bad for the secondhand computer market, whether it's for charity or for profit, um, is the Windows accounts. So, um, as you know, Microsoft really tries to force you to log in with a Microsoft account, and there are workarounds you can do for which I have an article on, by the way, uh, on on Tom's Hardware, um, that allow you to set up a local account and log in with a local account instead of when you install Windows. But by default, they really, really, really try to force you, make it really hard to avoid uh, logging in with a Microsoft account. Well, if you are installing Windows on a computer that does not belong to you, you're setting it up to give to a stranger. You're not going to log in there with your own Microsoft account, right? And you're not going to set up a Microsoft account for the stranger, right? I don't know who's getting this while I'm refurbishing it. I'm not going to go and set up a Microsoft account for them. So I want to give them a computer that, when they turn it on, goes to the desktop, right? So the best way to do that is set up a local account with no password. But again, Microsoft makes that a hassle. You can do it and make it a hassle. So, I think there's a lot of ways in which they really are not thinking about uh, computer charities, and that's really a shame. Like, it's not good for the environment. The path that they're on, that makes it harder to recycle computers. It's not good for all the people rely on getting a secondhand computer for their access to the modern world.
You know, you were talking about the uh, Microsoft accounts, and at the beginning of this, I was thinking, I wonder if they run them through the OOBE again, the out of box experience. For those of you who don't set up PCs, uh, I was wondering if you guys re-triggered that or not.
No, no, no. We have to do a clean install,
Mm-hmm.
a clean
There,
install.
there's a package that you can run that resets the OOBE. So when you power it on, you can get all the software installed, and then when they power it on the next time, it runs them back through the OOBE.
Oh, yeah, right, right,
It's
right.
it's one of the OEM tools. It's the same thing that Dell does, or
Oh,
HP
right,
or
right. Because when
Lenovo.
you, right, right, right. When we
They
get a
image.
computer,
Yeah,
it
it comes with
start it
software
has.
on it that Dell installed or HP installed or whatever, and then they re-initiate the OOBE before they create the disk image, because obviously Dell and HP aren't doing this individually per device, like you guys are,
Right.
because you know
No,
they have they have the same hardware over and
you're
over and
right.
over again.
That happens every. I mean, we get computers to review all the time, right? So
Hmm.
I'm constantly taking new computers out, new laptops out of the box, and yes, we get the out of the box experience thing, which asks you to log in, and then, um, and then your Windows has been installed,
Hmm.
although it often does things like search for updates or whatever, um, and then um, and then whatever crapware they've preloaded is there. So we
Exactly.
could preload our own. I still don't think that's the greatest scenario for charity.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
is, it is because what's kind of expected of us now. If we were just mail order, like if we were a mail order refurbisher or something like that, and we were just people were just buying stuff from us for $100, and we were sending it out to them, and we were like, "Good luck with that," or maybe here's some instructions. But one thing we're supposed to do, and I think this is nice, is deliver it to people. Like, this is a local charity. When I get my first one refurbished, they're going to assign me someone. I'm going to go either if it could be a social services organization, in which case I'll just drop it off, but it could be going straight to someone's house. I could be going straight to someone's house and helping them set it up. Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to go through that when I set it up, right? Like, I don't want to bring it over to their house and be sitting there and be like, okay, so now let's go through this out of the box experience together. And listen, you need to have a Microsoft account. And if you don't have a Microsoft account, create a Microsoft account. Better write down that password. You know, oh, do you have an email address? Better make sure you have an email address because you're going to get a confirmation email that you have to confirm. Like there's a lot of friction there,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah, the for me the better choice is creating a local account. Um,
Yeah,
it's I
yeah.
I just went through this. I just did a kind of a personal refurb on a machine for my mother, and yeah, I local account because
Right, right.
because
So,
the
so
installer
that's
flash drive that's around here somewhere, I think in this drawer over here, it's set to give me that capability.
right, right. So, yeah. So, I mean, there's ways to do it. I mean, the number one way to do it is to use Rufus,
Absolutely.
which is a disk writing, disk burning software, and then it has the option. But even then, it tries. I found that it tries to get you to log in with your Microsoft account unless you cut off the internet. You have to cut. I found you have to cut off the internet
Yep. Now it does. Yeah.
from. So you have to go into like Shift F10 to get the command prompt, and then do ipconfig release. Is how I did it. Um, so anyway, uh, so I have an article
I
up
use
about
it.
this.
I use an older ISO
Okay,
because I didn't want to go through all that.
right. I have an article up about this on Tom's Hardware about how this is, affecting refurbishers, uh, and it's just like it's a little. It's actually, it's something that Microsoft. By the way, I asked them for comment; they wouldn't give me comment. Um, does maybe doesn't care about, and maybe from their point of view, like people should buy a new computer, but it's a huge thing. Like there's lots of charities that do this. There's lots of secondhand computers on the market for profit there, and we should want people to be refurbishing computers. We should want that. It's good for the environment. It helps people get access to computers. We should we should want that. So uh, it's a shame that Microsoft has put refurbishers in this position.
Yeah, agreed. I think people know that we work with eSmart here in the Tampa area, and I reached out to Tony at the beginning of this segment to see if he'd respond uh, about how they're handling it. Maybe we can get him on sometime and have a conversation about it. Because, like you said, there's lots of groups. You're part of that one. I work with Tony. We do console refurbishing and recycling with him. Uh, it's affecting a lot of people, and yeah, just because some of the PCs from eSmart end up going to like Venezuela doesn't change the fact that still security holes, unless they're not going online. But I don't think that's the case. So, doesn't matter where they're landing. We've still got the same interconnected world issue.
Yeah, also keep in mind that like these computers could be pretty good. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could have a computer that has 16 gigs of RAM and has like an 8-core processor and doesn't qualify for Windows
Yeah.
11. So it's not like you're just giving people like a garbage computer that's going to take forever to boot and be really horrible. Like it could be a really decent computer for something.
Yeah, because I mean, if you just think about it, the the second Surface Studio, the big touchscreen, bendy one, that one, I don't think, and neither one of those were supposed to be supported by Windows 11, uh, and they ended up making an exception on that. But I mean, that was big, expensive hardware, and within a pretty short, window of its own, product end of life, it was about to be totally unsupported by the company that that made it. So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
lots of computers. I mean that Surface Studio. If I could put my hands on one today, it'd sit right over here, uh, and that's officially it's an unsupported hardware configuration, and it's one I'd love to have my hands on. So yeah, it's not. We're
Yep.
not talking. We're not talking. Second gen processors. We're not talking 12, 14, 10, 12 generations old.
Yeah. It could be from something that was bought as recently as 2019.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. It's definitely unfortunate. Hopefully, some sort of a scenario can be found. I don't know what it is, but you know, maybe a pressure campaign on Microsoft.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an important topic. That's what I was going for. Uh, that I appreciate you bringing to our attention. And as always, I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Exa. Exa brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/Exa. Want to point out real quick that Exa's got more than just gaming headsets now. I'm really looking forward to seeing these things in action. Open ear air conduction, because I think our regulars know that I wear an open ear headphone all day, every day, and so be interesting to see how that works. Anyway, that's not what we're going to talk about. Instead, we're going to talk about Niantic. We've talked about them a lot in the past. They made a name for themselves in the gaming world when they launched Pokemon Go. Hard to believe it's been 6+ years now that game has been out, that we started talking about it on the show. They've branched out, well, not branched out, but certainly added licenses for games like Monster Hunter. But this week, Niantic sold their gaming division to a company called Scopely. Scopely is currently best known for Monopoly Go, so I guess they're just picking up the Go games. Monopoly Go was an early failure. I don't know that that's the word I want to use. It started out, it had a very rough launch. Let's go with that. The game was criticized pretty heavily for its massive microtransaction system. Certainly a pay-to-win, possibly even a pay-to-play type environment. People really disliked what was going on. The company kind of responded to it, not entirely. The game has never done what it was expected to, mostly because lots of people got a sour taste from the launch of the game. Think Cyberpunk, but mobile, right? It took Cyberpunk forever to get rid of the sour taste in people's mouths that kept gamers away from it while they made it an acceptable gaming experience, right? So Monopoly Go was a problem, and now the company that made it and thought that that was going to work owns Niantic's gaming division. The good news is that the actual development teams behind, Pogo, Pikmin Bloom, Monster Hunter Now, probably their three biggest currently still available titles. The teams behind them are staying intact. They're staying on board and will continue to be in charge of those individual properties. But they do have new ownership, and that new ownership is going to look to monetize these games differently, is my guess. There's been a lot of chatter around concerns over adding additional or larger microtransactions, making natural progression through the game more difficult. So, your pay-to-win type strategy. The introduction of actual loot boxes. Right now, there's a daily free chest that you can get. It's not called a chest, but there's a daily free gift that you can get. But the introduction of actual loot boxes could turn players off. But there's going to be a line, right, that this new company is going to be trying to tread. How do we not alienate the existing players, but how do we get players who have never spent a penny in game over 6+ years to give us some money for it? So we might see some of these games kind of change. So I don't know. It's you and I have talked a lot about mobile games and microtransactions over the years. What do you think?
I mean, it's not good news. It's not good news for people who are playing those games. Uh, Mobile games seem to be. I mean, every game now has ways of trying to get you to spend more money, but
Sure.
pretty much. But like mobile games are the worst. It's like you know, it's so spammy. Like I don't want to spend money on a game on mobile because it's just going to be like, would you like some more? Give me some
Mm-hmm.
more money, more this, more that. Like,
Yeah.
generally speaking, when a lot of PC games, you can just buy the game and play it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of, console games, you can just buy the game and play it. And the more kind of hidden fees there are to get where you're going, to get to the end of the game, the lamer it is. So,
Yeah.
um,
Agreed.
I mean, these are mobile games, so you kind of expect that from them, but it's not great. It's not desirable. So, what I want to know is what is they sold their gaming division. What did the rest of Niantic do?
It's a fascinating question. So, Niantic started, if I'm not mistaken, this is all off the top of my head, um, by a team inside of Google that was part of the Google Maps team. Uh, and it started literally, I can't, what does Google call the Microsoft Garage? I can't remember. Um, Google something, uh, where people can screw around and build cool stuff like what uh, came out for Mouse Without Borders. Google's got a version of it, and I think they had it first. Actually, doesn't matter. Uh, and Niantic actually spun out of that. Um, it was an internal Google thing that got spun out, and it's all mapping technology, and the gaming came later. So they're actually a location company that figured out that location had value in gaming.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it does smell a little bit like Nokia selling Lumia to Microsoft, and everybody going, "Well, what the hell's Nokia gonna do?"
Right.
it,
Yeah.
it
I
it
I
does
mean,
feel that same way.
well, I mean, it's not good news, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you really care about these games, then I mean, the company wouldn't buy them if they didn't think they could do more to monetize them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
True.
Usually, when one company buys another, they think that as the buyer, they are they know better
There's more money
how
to be
to
made
make
than is
that
currently.
that right. So how are they going to make that more money? They're
Yeah.
going to probably do it through microtransactions.
Yeah.
You know, uh, so yeah, I I I I don't think the future is bright for these games. But hey, who knows? Also, Pokemon Go, like it was I think more of a thing when it came out. Now you're so many years in,
It
still
is
playing.
actively it is actively open on my phone right now. I was checking on something during the Piltch point.
Okay, good for you.
but
I
but
I
that's
did
not
not.
everybody, right? It's not. It was a larger thing. It has funneled down, and the people who are playing will probably continue to play until somebody screws something up. Uh, but
It's just.
you
I
know,
mean, it's
getting people to
managed.
come back is unlikely. You know,
Yes, yes. So anyway, my son is still sad about Minecraft Earth.
that was so
Uh,
good, but there was no way that
was
Microsoft wasn't going to screw that up.
he's still sad about Minecraft Earth being discontinued. So,
I am still salty about SimCity Social, and that's been gone well over a decade. Because oh,
all right,
because Nick and I complained about that, and
yes,
he's been gone from the show
yes,
almost 10 years. That was probably
right,
12 or 13 years ago. Oh my god, you and I have been doing this together a long time, Avram.
yeah. So anyway, not good news. What can you do? I guess if you play those games, hope for the best.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I will be keeping a close eye on what happens with Pogo. I haven't touched Pikmin Bloom in a long time, uh, longer even than Monster Hunter now. Though I think Alante still plays Monster Hunter now. It'll definitely be interesting to see how they handle those. Maybe what they're going to do is attack the two that I have given up on, right? Um, and and generally leave alone the one that I haven't, right? Because I think Pogo is more successful than either of the other two, um, or maybe not. Maybe there'll be a campaign to try and get people back into Pikmin or Monster Hunter. Who knows? But hopefully, they don't screw everything up. Fingers crossed. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus, it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. So let's loop back around to AI. We started there. Let's come back to it. This week, a new study came out on the primary, eight primary generative AI powered search engines or search products. ChatGPT, Search, Perplexity, Grok, things like that. And they looked for the accuracy of said products. Now, Avram, you and I have talked a lot about accuracy when it comes to generative AI, putting Elmer's glue into mac and cheese. Anybody? But this is a pretty wide and deep study on the products. They fed a series of articles into the system, not the content, but the links to said articles into the system, and then asked a wide range of questions against them, particularly looking for inaccuracies in the results, in the citations, and in the access, which is something that was really interesting for me. Let's start with the overall accuracy. Across the board, the average was 60%. false, which is not great. Obviously, not all of the results are as wildly incorrect as Elmer's glue in mac and cheese, but they certainly had inaccurate data and inaccurate citations. Perplexity seemed to be the best with a 37% error rate. And to the best of my knowledge, that was the only one that fell below the 50 mark. And Grok was 94% nonsense. So, woo, that's rough. I found it interesting that we were talking about AI tiers earlier. Found it interesting that the free version of Perplexity had access to content that was explicitly blocked to AI crawlers on certain websites like National Geographic. That's interesting and gets us into, I think, yours and my favorite large complaint about these AI models, and that's how they train and ingest data. But it's definitely an interesting study on these models, Avram, and I think it certainly raises some flags about what we might or might not see over the next couple of weeks as Madam A gets replaced with a generative AI model, as Siri gets replaced that uses at least partially the Gemini backend, and then Gemini itself.
Yeah, I mean, this. So looking at the study from Columbia Journalism Review, right, that this is based on, you can see that it gets things like this is exactly the problem, right? These things, and this is, and if you look at their methodology, they were seeking out some very specific articles and trying to see to get those articles, like information from those articles. Now, if you're a publisher, you're saying, wait a second, I kind of don't want them to get my article anyway, right?
Right.
So there's different different mindset there. But the thing is, we're asking, all of these AI engines are 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 cashing in on a reputation they don't deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you wouldn't trust a stranger with, to give you answers.
Right.
Generally speaking, you go by reputation. At Tom's Hardware, we've been going by our reputation for 30 years almost,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have a reputation to maintain. OpenAI does not have a reputation to maintain.
Right.
Or rather, they're being treated as if they have a reputation to maintain
Already.
already. But what we're seeing is not that. If you can't trust 60% of the answers, or you can't trust 37% of the answers, you can't trust any of the answers,
Correct. Because you don't know.
because you don't know which it's going to be.
Right. You never know which one is going to recommend Elmer's glue in the mac and cheese.
Right. So it is a plagiarism stew. It continues to be a plagiarism stew.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they were, if anything, this Columbia Journalism Review study was an underestimate,
Right.
because they weren't looking for factual errors per se. They were looking to see how true it was to a particular article, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Right.
is the easiest way to see how it's going. Like, okay, I'm going to take this article here and I'm going to compare it to the result, and so I don't have to do fact checking, right?
Right.
I'm just the article is the source, right? But most people aren't searching for a particular article; they're searching for information,
Yeah.
and the information is
Concepts.
usually at least partially correct, right? It's
Right.
got the air of correctness to it, and that's what makes it so dangerous.
Right. Because the rest of the recipe made sense, except for the Elmer's glue.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So the thing I found interesting was the the ones that like the I'm confident in the answer and I'm wrong on the graph, and then the ones where it wasn't confident and whether or not it answered or just went right. And Copilot, when Copilot wasn't confident in the answer, it just wouldn't answer. And in fact,
That's
it's the
good.
it's the only one that 100% of the time when the model said I'm not confident, Copilot went, "Nah." Everybody else
Well,
at least once gave a result. And other than the free perplexity, not the pro, but the free perplexity, when they were not confident, nobody's answers were correct.
right. So, and usually they don't tell you when they're not confident. So, like,
It's
how do you know it's not confident?
it's possible that they were accessing this through API and getting the confidence rating of the result. I don't know. I haven't I haven't gone into the full deep dive into how they identified confidence and things like that. But it's on their graph. Um, there's a there's a line for not confident slash no answer and then
Yeah,
confident on one of the
yeah, I see
graphs.
that.
So
I'm just wondering how you evaluate not confident because a lot of times they won't tell you.
mhm,
I mean, maybe if you get some type of a score, but usually there isn't a score.
right,
You're supposed to believe them.
right,
Like that's the bottom line. You're supposed to believe them. Now, here's the problem with AI is the same problem that you have with people, except it's being given credibility it didn't earn.
right,
If a person came up to you, if you approach a stranger on the street and you ask them a question, you wouldn't, and you don't know who they don't have a reputation with you, or you a lot of people would be like, who's this person? I don't trust them,
right,
right? Reputation matters, trust matters.
mhm,
That's that's why brands matter. That's why people matter. That's why, you know, actions have consequences. Unfortunately, we're coming into a world where actions don't have consequences, it seems, because people will get a bit like all the answers that people got from AI like a year ago should have been enough for a lot of people to say, like, I don't trust this.
right,
I don't trust this. So I'm not going to use it. But instead, there's a belief that because it's technology, that it's progress. And so, well, even if it's not perfect now, it's going to be fine. Like, and it has gotten better at faking it. Like, it's getting harder and harder to track back, um, to find the plagiarism, right?
right,
It's doing less um, word for word copying,
mhm,
right? Um, so it's getting harder and harder, like to go and study and be like, oh, this is exactly the sentence where it got it from here.
right,
Um, but just because it's thrown a lot more vegetables in the stew still doesn't mean that it's not poison, right? So it's, yeah. So what can we say to this? Don't don't believe it.
Right.
I mean, and this was particularly done with news, right?
Right.
This study was news. It was not a study of like recipes. It was not a
Right.
study of medical information. It was not a study like of financial information. It was not a study of computer tips, right? It is a study of news. So they were looking to see whether, like, if my article says that such and such thing happened, that the AI um, correctly parrots my article.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but part of the problem is AIs don't necessarily distinguish between good and bad sources
Right.
either, or biased and unbiased sources or whatever. So it treats everything the same. So whether it's an article from another AI or it's an article from Tom's Hardware written by an expert, we
Right.
all get thrown into the same plagiarism stew,
Right.
right? And to my knowledge, they don't really have a lot of weighting to say like, oh, this is a credible source. Let's only use this credible source. So so yeah, don't trust it. I mean, don't 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 trust it.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Like, unfortunately, eh, I'm not even really sure if this is something people asked for, right? Because especially with news, like a lot of things with news, you don't want to ask a you don't want to ask a question. You want to see the news, right? Like, this is why, by the way, when I'm at work, I'm like, well, news is probably the one area where publishers have an advantage over AI,
Right.
is one area because a if it's new, they're not going to know to ask about it, right? They're not going to
Yep.
be like, hey, did such did somebody say this thing today? They're they're going to be exposed to it through some other means because generally speaking with news, you either go to a place that has news or it somehow gets filtered out to you through social or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're not you're not asking like what happened today, right?
Right.
Uh, so what's new with Intel, right? Um, so generally speaking, like you, news is something that people don't necessarily uh, go to an AI search engine for or an AI chatbot for.
Right.
But
It's stats
um,
and figures and stuff like that, and
right,
yeah.
so I don't know. It's very it's not at all surprising. The real problem is that people continue to believe this stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, that's the real problem. Um, but an interesting question, and there was another study this week, or was this week or last, that said that um, publishers receive 96% fewer clicks from AI output than they do from a search engine,
Believe that.
and that's assuming that there are links in it,
Uh huh.
right?
Or or that said links aren't like Gemini, where uh 127 plus 22 plus 16 and 7, so 150, 175 out of 175 ish uh, backlinks that Gemini provided, 127 of them were to 404s.
Uh, well, that would certainly hurt your click through rate. Um,
Indeed, it would.
right? Um, right. So unfortunately, publishers are between a rock and a hard place. They want to. Everybody thinks that AI is the future, and so you got to cooperate with AI, and so they want to sign deals where there maybe you have a chance to get a few more links out of uh, out of ChatGPT than they would otherwise. But the reality is that they're not really seeing the benefits of their work. Whereas Sam Altman said that OpenAI would be finished if they weren't allowed to just crawl whatever they want on the internet.
Yep.
They would be they would be finished. Well,
If copyright
yeah,
if copyright law holds, OpenAI is finished. Yeah, no kidding.
right. That's like saying my my business selling loose cigarettes just doesn't work now that I can't shoplift them from the store. Like yeah, you got a problem, buddy. Um,
Yeah, and
so
you've misidentified what the problem is. That's the thing. You have misidentified the problem. The problem is not that OpenAI doesn't have a business model if they can't openly scrape the web. The problem is you're stealing content from people.
right, right, exactly. So anyway, I mean, look, unfortunately, we're going to have to accept some degree of AI and generative AI in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, we're going to have to. So the question is, what are the guardrails going to be? What are the boundaries going to be? And then, what is it that consumers really want? Because a lot of a lot of this stuff is being kind of forced on the consumer. Like we don't. I don't think a lot of people asked for Google AI overviews. I don't think a lot of people asked to have like Microsoft pushing Copilot into everything they do, or like Google, like
Facebook trying to summarize the comments under a popular post in a group.
right, like they're doing they're just like so much like I want to give you AI whether you want it, need it or not. Like
Mm-hmm.
I get an email that's like 3 sentences long. Would you like me to summarize this email for you? No, I
No.
just want to read. Or like I have to write back to someone. Or like I've gotten some really ludicrous like autocomplete type of suggestions of what to say to people on like very serious like threads I was on or whatever. Like it it nobody asked for I really don't think people asked for this. I don't think people want it. Like
Yeah.
I mean there's some things that people want, sure. I think what people want, and we don't really want them to have it, I don't want them to have it, is I think what people want is to be able to do term papers or whatever without doing the
Right.
work,
Yeah.
right? I think there's a whole group of people who want to be able to create minimum quality content without doing the work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and and that's a problem for everybody, especially teachers. But
It's also a cultural issue.
but right, because what are we teaching people to not
Yeah.
think
Yeah. Now, me,
instead of teaching people to yeah
what I want is in that line, but it's different. I want to be able to summarize the conversation that you and I are having using only the content that you and I have created. Or I want to turn it into an article or my CES stuff, right? I
right
find great uh, talking points out of the conversation that we've already had. I want it to be closed loop. I
yeah
want
I
I
mean
want
that would
I want help on workflow based on a closed loop ecosystem, which is very different than uh, you know, asking a search engine about the percentage of voters who whatever, right? And I use
Right.
that as an example because there's a popular podcaster, one of the top in the world by numbers right now, who has leaned in hard to perplexity. Mentions it a lot per episode now. And here we have some numbers that show maybe that's not necessarily what we want to be doing.
Yep. Very true. So anyway, I mean, there's things that we get that are good from the pattern recognition of AI. I sure hope I sure hope that that medical researchers are able to use AI to find cures, although I don't know if they're actually really doing that or it has the same problems. I mean,
So, so we had a company on the show a couple of years ago that was using for CES that was using um, like an earlier generation of neural network model um, to essentially create a molecule, test it against all known uh, body reactions, and determine whether or not it was harmful, helpful, neutral, and they could run through these quickly to identify possible uh, molecules that could be have a medical benefit. Then they would then
right,
take that and be able to do proper research on it. But it was able to put things together in ways that researchers had never considered and go, oh, what? This could do this could have what kind of a response in the body? Well, that's interesting. Let's take a look at that. So yeah, some of this has been used in medical research for a while, but at a very high level, like you know, first pass type stuff. And then here,
right,
human beings, figure out what to do with this. This might be promising.
right,
Take a look.
right. And I mean, I think some of the things that we've gotten out of AI, like transcription
Mm-hmm.
and translation and stuff like that, have turned out to be very, very helpful. Um, and being able to do
Yeah.
things with natural language, you know, is great. But I think there's a lot of things that we're being pushed AI for that people that are not beneficial, and a lot of people didn't ask for, and they're being like, how much of the time were you like, I want to come up with a silly picture,
Right.
before generative AI. I want
Right.
to come up with a silly story. I want to come up with a ridiculous poem. Like, most people didn't sit around thinking that they want to do this, and those who did were people who enjoyed the process.
Right.
They enjoyed the art. They enjoyed the work.
Exactly.
That was what it was about. So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, yet another reason not to trust what you're getting out of these chat engines.
This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. Another one of the topics we missed while we were gone was the weird meltdown that happened over at Sonos. Uh, Sonos, if you don't know, is a company that has specialized in high-end connected speakers. Um, whole house speaker systems that don't require, full whole house wiring, things like that. But at really high audio qualities, they've been a fan favorite for a long time. And then, while we've been gone, they put out an app update that was awful. It was a new version of their mobile app, and it took features away. It didn't work. It crashed. It had issues with speakers and was just a general disaster. So, what would any intelligent company do? Reverse the app update, put the old one back out, and revisit it, right? Not Sonos. Nope, they doubled down on it. And they left it out there. They tried to patch it. They have dedicated millions of dollars in additional funds to try and bring the new version of the app up to parity with the old one that already worked. And in the meantime, their CEO has left. They have paused product launches and now killed off an entire product line. There had been rumors for 2+ years and confirmed rumors of a set-top streaming box from Sonos that would kind of complete the Sonos ecosystem. It would be interconnected with their speakers. It'd be easy to stream. You hook it to your TV, and then because it's all on the same app, you'd be able to pair it in with your speakers. You wouldn't have to do anything special. You wouldn't have to have anything on your TV. It would just, to quote Apple, it would just work. It's dead. Product line is gone. Reports, I think originally from The Verge, have shown that the company, amidst all of the chaos going on inside, has decided not to enter the only hardware business that's more crowded than speakers, and that's set-top streaming boxes. I don't know what they were hoping to get here, because Apple TV, Chromecast, or whatever it's called now, I don't know if it's called that or something else. Google, like Microsoft, renames stuff all the time. So Apple TV, Chromecast, Fire TV, Roku, they own the market. And to get somebody
Oh, you left out a big one. Multiple big ones.
Oh.
The anything that's built into the TV.
Uh-huh. Right.
You're competing with Samsung.
True.
And LG. Does LG still use WebOS?
WebOS. Yep.
Right. But like all of those things that are built in are
Yep.
also like a lot of TV. The need for the boxes is less and less because more and more TVs are coming with this built in. And
Right.
even if you don't love the one that it comes with, it's hard. It's kind of a hard argument to be like, hey, my TV came with the streaming services built in, but I'm going to go buy a Roku box anyway.
Right. And in fairness, a lot, save for kind of Samsung and LG, a lot of them have whatever Google's thing is called today and Roku built in as their platform. TCL, Hisense, a lot of the TV manufacturers use either Roku or Google built in.
That's what I have.
Yeah,
I have a TCL.
Mm-hmm. We have at the shop. We've got a ton of them, and the Roku integration is great. Really easy to use. I wouldn't need a set-top box unless I'm using an older TV or I'm an Apple user, right? Who absolutely has to have everything be Apple. So where did they think this product was going to fit into the marketplace? It's an incredibly crowded space for OTT streaming products, whether it be built in to the television or an external device, people are either totally entrenched in the ecosystem they've already committed to, or they don't care. Either way, they certainly don't want to spend $400 on a nondescript black box that makes connecting to their existing Sonos speakers a little easier. Who was this product for?
Yeah. I mean, I think they thought they had a cachet for the brand,
True.
but yeah, it's hard to. I think they made the right choice to drop out because they're going to have a really hard time convincing people to buy a set top. Like, even if it were $50, they're going to have a hard time convincing
Mm-hmm.
people to buy a different set top box.
Absolutely.
Just you have a hard time convincing people to buy a set top box, period, right? Because of the built in systems.
Yeah.
So,
Or
you need.
on top of built-in systems, your gaming consoles do it too, and they do it great.
Yeah, it's right. It's really hard to argue now. Like, my mom has a Fire Stick, and I do not like, to be honest, the UI on it and everything about it on her TV. I don't like it. It's slow, very, very slow. At least
Yeah.
the one that she has, right? And when I come home and I use Roku, I'm like, this is much nicer,
Yeah.
right? So, uh, so I could see that if people had a UI that they really didn't like, or it's not just the UI, but like slow, maybe it doesn't have all of the apps that they want,
Right.
or all the services that they want. Maybe they go to something that is, maybe there's an argument that, like, I want the one that has all the apps that works well for me.
Right.
But
Which means
you're not going to get
probably
a new
the one
player.
that's the one that's most established,
Right, exactly.
not the new guy in town.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
This I don't know. It wasn't really the intention. It's gone this way on accident, but it's kind of been the theme of tonight. Who was it for? Right? What's the $20 a month Alexa Plus? Who's that for? Who asked for
right.
all generative AI to be built into your watch? Who asked for? Who was this for? I don't. The 8 people who were diehard Sonos fans who were like, the one place in my entertainment experience that's not Sonos branded is the actual streaming experience.
What they
Oh,
would be better off.
you were gonna be able to search across subscription services. All right, Apple TV does that
But
on
you
my
could do.
Xbox.
But Roku does that too.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
all do that. They
Yeah,
all do that. That's a table stakes. You have to do that now.
yeah.
I mean, it's not a perfect search, but it's pretty good. Um, yeah, that doesn't work. So, uh, the other thing is, like, some of them actually have content that's associated with that brand. So, like,
Okay.
Roku has its own channels and stuff like that. So, like, you get
And
some benefits as Sonos.
they bought that other platform whose name I can't remember, and so all of the newer Reno 911 stuff is on the Roku channel.
So my wife now is watching this all the time. They have, like, these fast channels.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that they're coming directly from Roku, and, like, they have ones that are like just show like one show every episode. Like, there's one that's just all Star Trek all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that's all Doctor Who, all classic Doctor Who all the time,
Yeah,
right?
like the
Um,
way is it Tubi or the other one works, where there's all these channels,
yeah,
and it's like it's
right.
the Gordon Ramsay Kitchen Nightmares channel, and it's just
Right.
Season 1, Episode 1, Season 1, Episode 2, Season 1, Episode 3.
Yeah, it just goes and goes. In a way, it's kind of depressing. Like it's not bad. It's just depressing. It's like, uh, it's not no one probably there's not even any programmer here actually doing this. No one is. You might be the only person alive watching it, and they have almost no commercial. I don't know how they make money because they have almost no commercials on any of these channels.
Mm-hmm.
All they have tons of commercials for the other channels.
Right.
Right? It's like, why don't you watch this channel? So they like tons of. I, well, I feel really bad for the people. Like I see commercials for like the Dr. Phil channel.
Uh huh.
Oh my god, gonna watch Dr. Phil channel. Oh,
Yeah.
horrifying, horrifying. Anyway, so so the so I guess what I would say about this is, yeah, they had no shot. They
Yeah.
their best bet, which even this would be hard to justify building a platform, would be if they made the TV.
Right.
If they built it into a TV and they made the TV, and then they tried to tout that their TV had superior audio because it was Sonos, um,
Mm-hmm.
they'd have some type of a selling point.
Yeah.
I don't know why we. I actually don't. Why doesn't Apple do that? Like,
Um. Apparently, there were prototypes of one at one point, and it turned into the box instead. They decided they wanted to do
right.
a set top instead of the actual panels.
I remember hearing about this. It just seems to me like Apple has experience with panels and stuff like that.
True.
An Apple
At
branded
four
TV would probably do okay.
at $4,000 for a 27-inch.
Right, it would probably be way overpriced. It would probably be way overpriced. Um, but
Yeah,
but
now that the way we backlight our screens has changed, it's really expensive to make the Apple logo glow. Which which by the way, for those who don't know, it's the reason why the Apple logo on the back of your laptop doesn't glow anymore is because we changed the way we backlight monitors. The glowing Apple was actually a side effect of the the backlighting for the monitor on the laptop, not something they did on purpose. And since we backlight monitors
oh,
differently now, it doesn't glow anymore.
oh,
In case you're curious.
that is a fascinating. That is fascinating.
It was
I
ambient
just
light
kind
from
of assume.
it was ambient light from the bulbs. And now that we backlight with directional LEDs, they don't have the ambient light to light the Apple anymore. So they make it a solid Apple now.
Ah, I
Fun
thought that
little
was
piece
just
of
a
engineering
design
information.
choice.
Nope. Nope. Fun little piece of engineering information for you.
Well, that's really good to know. But yeah, I don't. I mean, it sounds like a foul. So I
Yep.
guess they were smart not to do it, but not so
Yeah, thank
smart
goodness.
with their app.
Yeah, thank goodness. Like I think they've recognized, and I think you're right. Maybe they saw that there was a particular value to their name. They're like, all right, so let's try and touch other aspects of the entertainment experience, and then they kick themselves in the stomach by releasing the garbage new app, and people are like, oh, I don't really trust them right now. So now would be the absolute worst time possibly in the company's history to try and get into a new market. So good on them for recognizing it and stepping back before potentially doing any additional harm to their brand while they desperately try to repair it. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. I saw the numbers on the live were actually up this week. It's good to be back. Good to have you here joining us in the future. If you join us live, you can do that Sunday nights at 9 p.m. or 9:30 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio. We love it when people chat. Don't just watch, give us comments. It doesn't matter if you're on Twitch. Where can we see them? Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. If you're on any of those platforms and you comment, we can see them in the studio and respond. So we love that. Definitely do that in the future. If you can't join us live, that's okay as well. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. There are some additional ones coming on that watch, listen, and follow along. So definitely check that out. Video is showing up on Spotify now. So if you have been listening to the show on Spotify, you can change the word audio in your show description to the word video, and you'll start seeing all of the new episodes in video over on Spotify. And we're going to start showing up with the content on Rumble and a couple other platforms as well, as those platforms grow. So if there's a place where you are and we are not, definitely let us know. Message at us on X. I'm just going to say it. Tweet at us. Let us know where it is that you would like to see us that we're not. We'll see what we can do. Like I said, it is so good to be back. I feel normal again. So thank you for joining us this week, and we will see you back next time. Ciao.